this guy Mark, reporter, I thought it was an excellent article, a pretty lengthy read, but an excellent detailed article where he goes down the rabbit hole basically of this company called Gaggle. And what Gaggle does is they offer education monitoring software, let's call it. And so they make software that school districts will install in kids, Chromebooks or laptops. It ties directly into their Microsoft or Google accounts that they're probably using within the workplace. And essentially, it tracks everything. It'll track your emails. It'll track your searches. It'll track your YouTube history. It'll track your messages, your direct messages to other classmates and stuff like that. And it tracks everything. And basically, what these folks do is, naturally the argument, just like warehouse safety is student safety, right? With pandemic and depression being a really big thing, and kind of just mental health for students being extremely important. They'll monitor all these messages and signals, and then they'll send administrators or designated contacts notifications basically whenever a red flag comes up, and then someone local can jump in and intervene. And then they have like a tier system for when they call the cops and when they call an administrator and kind of everything that's monitored. And they have a team of some AI based thing that automatically filters certain keywords. Then they have human moderators, just like Facebook and Twitter do, to manually read through all these messages and stuff. And first of all, these guys make a killing. There was one article or one mention in this article, something like $400,000 for 2-3 years. I think some Minnesota school district, if I'm not mistaken. It's in the article, so someone can figure out the actual details. But it's definitely not cheap, basically, for getting this kind of system set up. And on one hand, you have student safety. On the other hand, you have massive amount of surveillance. Right to the core, tied into everything that the device does for that student. Raju, I know you talked about like your kid's school district has like that Facebook group or whatever that you can't get out of. This arguably is far, far worse. How do you guys see this balance? Equal to the workplace one, like the warehouse example, or worse or better? Same thing, different skin?
Even worse in this case, the kids don't even have to have an option to pick and choose.
Can't vote with your feet.
Yeah. My kids, they're always on Google, and because the school mandates it, and the collaboration happens on Facebook. Well, you have the duopoly right there up top, and then on top of it, who knows how many other surveillance companies out there, and there's no way to opt out. And then they're kids, so they right at the early age they're starting to track whatnot, and it's not like these. Schools know how to protect kids' information, because I got a email recently where they copied every single email address of every single parent out there. So the level of privacy these guys take care of. So I have an email address of every single parent that is in the school or school district in this case. But if these are the kinds of people we are dealing with, how can I trust them with my kids' information with them, where they're openly asking about healthcare information to whatnot? Can you really trust them? And if they are making the decisions like using these systems like Google and Facebook as their default collaboration, that's a fundamental issue. And there is a reason, and there are other reasons. Their hands are tied too. They have limited budgets, and Google and Facebook take advantage of it and offer it for free or close to being free. And because the budgets are limited, they just have to stick to it. So they have their own point too. But fundamentally, again, unless we take this, and unless parents push this, there's no way we can change the system. But tracking people, especially kids, right from the young age, is crazy.
The last part you said is probably I would say one of the worst things, because Google and Microsoft have this duopoly, especially in just kind of email productivity collaboration, kind of for the most part. Both are massive market share leaders. And when you indoctrinate these students basically at the youngest of ages, elementary school, and you're introducing them to Google and Microsoft services from that very young age, you've basically got them now for life. One, you're building a profile on them, which is great for future. But two, you're almost ensuring that these are the tools that people are going to be familiar with when they grow up and when they join the workplace, right? And so on one hand, they offer it for free, but they know they're making the money back, tenfold down the line. And it's not fair because, like you said, schools have limited budgets and they can't spend that kind of money. I did end up finding the numbers for that school district I was talking about earlier, though. So Minneapolis school district spent 350K on a partnership with this Gaggle company until 2023. So a 3-year deal at 355K, and then that included 65K in like federal relief money that came through as well. But even then, 350 over 3 years, 100K a year for this kind of software, not cheap by any means. And so they will pay a premium on this. And arguably, if a school district doesn't implement a software like this, then if something happens, God forbid, to a student, and if I was a parent, I'd probably be like, well, how come you don't have stuff like this in place to keep track of stuff, right? So I could see them kind of being stuck between a rock and a hard place on this pretty easily.
I'm gonna let me do this. Let me first of all bring myself back in here, and then
Welcome.
let's go to this. Actually, this I'm just gonna read these because the slide is a little bit blurred with the export that took place. But it says that tools like Gaggle have become ubiquitous in classrooms across the country, according to the forthcoming research by DC-based Center for Democracy and Technology. In a recent survey, 81% of teachers reported having such software in place in their schools. Though most students said they're comfortable being monitored, 58% said they don't share their true thoughts or ideas as a result, and 80% said they are more careful about what they search for online. So once again, we're this stuff, it's controlling kids and the way that kids are. Remember when we were kids, we weren't afraid of maybe that was naivety, but we just weren't afraid of our every move being documented and kind of used against us and shared with all sorts of third party companies. We have nothing, no relationship at all, but because these companies want to get in our heads and sell us stuff or do whatever. Yeah, now you got these systems that, let's say it is meant originally, the main purpose was for good intent, but we see this is like a recurring theme every time. Maybe it's there's too many good looking cookies in the cookie jar, and we meant to take just one cookie and we can't help ourselves. We're just grabbing the whole stash and pulling it out, and we all know that's not a good thing for anybody. And it just seems like, Tejas, you asked about, is this worse than the employees? I think this is worse because it's kids, and
Yeah.
that's the main thing. We're adults. Yeah, we would like to not have certain things happen to us, and we would like to have more control over or certain things. But when it comes to kids, man, that's where the line should be drawn. And as we see time and time and time again, it's not. And
It's
that's
not,
really
and
bad.
we've seen that with the recent Facebook example with teenage girls, right? They knew that it is negatively impacting teenage girls, yet
Right.
they didn't do anything about it because they put profits over privacy, and that is an issue fundamentally. And it comes down to morals, and it's proven again and again. And if they really have good morals, we wouldn't be here in the first place.
Yeah.
Wow, we wouldn't be having this show, I guess, if we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider it a successful show if we didn't have enough things to talk about it. Unfortunately, the duration of the show keeps increasing, so we are heading down the wrong direction.